Welcome along to Chasing Winners. Big show here tonight with, of course, the Sandown Cup heats, the finals of the Harrison Dawson and the Sapphire Crown being our immediate focus, but there are some other features going on this weekend. Let's have a look at those. The aforementioned races there at Sandown. The heats of the Carnival Sprint from Albion Park, and then on Saturday night, big races going on there at Cannington with the heats of the Oaks, the final of the Derby, and at Dubbo, the inaugural running of the Brother Fox Dubbo Cup heats. Just got the two heats, but they are very strong races. Along to help us find a winner at Sandown is Jason Adams. G'day, Patch.
Hello, Wiz. Great to be back on the show, and I think it's be about 2 years ago, I reckon. One of my first shows I did on the Sky, we teamed up and you hosted, so I think this is the first time since then. So looking forward to it. Great to have you back in the chair, and as you say, it's a sensational night of racing tomorrow night.
Yeah, well, 2 years ago, that's probably about the last time I found a winner, Patch. So let's hope this is a happy anniversary. Let's have a look at the first heat of the Sandown Cup. It comes up as race number 3. Stanley Road's your favourite. He's 2.15 and steady. Hank the Hustler's got out marginally, 3.70 to the quote. You can see Zipping Rambo is steady, and Patch has been good money for Frida Rocks, $19 into $9. I've no doubt she's got the ability to win it, but does she have the will to do it?
Well, that's a major question. I think the ability, as you say, there's no doubting that. She's got plenty of it, as we saw in a Speed Stars trial on Sunday. But again, like we've seen so many times, if she does get caught up in the field, she's not going to run on to the best of her ability. So that is clearly the query around her.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at the first replay, and this is Stanley Road's win in the Association Cup back on April 10, a phenomenal win that we've talked about sort of ad nauseum, Patch. Look, I guess more pertinent to the two runs probably subsequently, where he's just been wiped out in the early stages, not had any luck at all. But I think the big tick for him here is he moves to the red box and he's undefeated.
100% agree. I think in those past two runs, which he hasn't been able to win, I think naturally as greyhound racing fans, a lot of people are keen to jump off him and maybe say he's not going as well. But as you mentioned, Wiz, he got cut up and he's drawn box number 1 here, which is a important thing. So on paper, he will be having his first look at the track, but he did go around in a trial last Saturday morning where he did one lap of the track from the 700 metre boxes and set a back split of 30 and 30. So that is a length quicker than what Hank the Hustler did last Thursday night. So a bit unusual for Stanley Road, but I think box 1's a good thing, and hopefully he can bounce back with a bang.
Yeah, that's some good intel there from Patch with regards to that trial there last weekend. The next replay we're going to have a look at is Hank the Hustler, and he has box number 2 in this replay we're watching here, 41.80. A little bit slower on the clock than a couple of his past performances, Patch, but I think the point needs to be made that when he ran 41.69, 41.38 in consecutive weeks, the track, or the conditions, I guess, were a bit more conducive to fast times, whereas last week that wasn't necessarily the case.
You're spot on. It's a much better time of year to set fast times. I remember watching that really fast run, the 41.38 at home, and it was just a real sticky, still night. So that's the sort of conditions we see then go like the wind. And for Hank, as we heard James Vandermart say in the race call last Thursday night, you throw the speed map out the window, because typically he gets to that middle part of the field and charges home, and last Thursday he was able to lead. But for mine, Wiz, I sense he's a type where it's going to be best for him to settle in that midfield pack and then start to charge the batteries.
Yeah, look, there is a little bit of pace in this race. Look, from a speed map perspective, a lot of it is to his outside as well, which could be a bit of a hang-up. Look, I'm going to go with Stanley Road on top. I think possibly because of his last 2 runs, Patch, we're getting a better price than we would have had he come here fresh off the back of the Association Cup win. I think if he comes here straight off the back of that, he's probably a $1.65 chance. So I think Black Figure's really good, 2.15. I've got him on top of Zipping Rambo. I don't know about what you thought of his run last week. I thought he was outstanding, given he didn't see the bunny at all. Frida Rocks, look, I've thrown her in purely on ability, but who knows what's going to happen when the boxes fly open there. And I've got Hank the Hustler there for 4th. Look, he's definitely a winning chance, but I think the price is right for Stanley Road.
Yeah, totally agree. I think those past 2 runs where he hasn't been able to win, there's been a little bit of polish come off, which is sort of disrespectful because the standard that he set was so very high. So box 1's a good thing, and as we mentioned as well, he has seen the track last Saturday morning, so not coming in blind. And I reckon as well, he can bounce back to the winners list. Second, I went number 4, Hank the Hustler. And I just don't think he's got the class of Stanley Road. He's clearly got ability to run some time that's required to go well in a series like this. I just thought Stanley Road was the better option. Third, number 3, 5-star. Bit of a new kid on the block in the staying ranks, and I know his trainer, Paul Abella, speaks very highly of him, and almost as a stayer at least, more highly than Aston Ulysses. So a big opinion from Paul there. And fourth went number 8, Zipping Rambo. And agree with you on last week's run, Wiz. He was thereabouts. He ran on well behind ZACK MONELLI, so it's easy to sort of look over those runs behind one like ZACK MONELLI when they've gone so well in front. So he was very good on his 700-metre debut. Yeah,
it'd be interesting whether he can, or whether he can overcome, or whether he suffers from that second up over the 700 Blues there tomorrow night. Next race we're going to have a look at is Heat 2 of the Sandown Cup, and this looks one of the more straightforward races, I would have thought. Patch, $1.30 ZACK MONELLI, went up 135, and I wouldn't disagree with the market that seemed over the odds. Tyler Durden's been a drifter, 5 out to 650, ditto Pilbara, and it's pretty much write your own ticket if you want to back something else with the West Australian Barefoot Tycoon, $11. Look, there's not a lot of meat on the bone. There's no prizes tipping $1.30 chances, Patch, but geez, I think we see a lot worse things go around $1.30 every day than ZACK MONELLI.
Yeah, bang on, and I wouldn't be blown away if that actually shortened. And I'm not one to throw the word moral around too often, but on what he did last week, you'd be stunned if he wasn't able to back that up in the field that he comes up against, which probably isn't as strong as what he's met for a very long time. So $1.30, it's not under the odds.
I would not disagree there. Let's have a look at that replay. Last week he exits box number 6, and again, the point needs to be made about this race here, Patch, last week. There was good speed to his inside. Zipping Rambo, we just spoke about, had the red, the dog in the 3, whose name escapes me, is normally an on-pacer as well, but he's been able to head them off easily. His second section split was, it's barely rivalled, and he goes 41.49 overall. I think it's been said before, he's more of a speed stayer than a stamina type stayer, but when he gets the start right, he can run some brilliant sections, can't he?
Absolutely, and this run, he couldn't have done any more. 41.49, they don't go much quicker, and you mentioned that the splits that he was able to set to the back split, which is just after the 700-metre boxes, he went 30.08, so that was the third fastest of all time, only rivalled by his Tears and Tornado Tears. So in elite company there, and he's an elite stayer, and he is unbelievably hard to beat tomorrow night.
And both those wins you speak about are when his Tears went, I think, 41.18, and when Tornado Tears went 41.20. So that's the sort of company that we're talking about there. Next rate player we're going to have a look at is Tyler Durden. This is him winning over the 595. He has box 2 in the replay we're watching. He steps up to the 700 for the first time here, Patch. Look, I've got my own opinion. I think he just does not strike me as a 700-metre dog. I think even on the line over 600, he's generally had enough. He does create a bit of interest, but geez, I'd be very, very surprised if he runs out a strong 700. What are your thoughts about him?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's clear question marks. We never quite know until we do see them do it over 700 metres, but you're right, he's been good over 600. He did have a test over the 660 metres where he was beaten by 5-star 3 runs ago, and he did look to be paddling a little bit as they got to the line. So maybe a throw at the stumps from the team, but clearly a greyhound's got a big motor over 600 metres, and who knows, he might surprise us over 700, but on the evidence that we've got in front of us, I think it's safe to say that it's fair to have some doubts over his chances of running out a strong 700.
Yeah. Look, I think ZACK MONELLI, he tips himself. The fact that he's going to get on pace, he'll take all the negatives out of the race. And look, this is possibly a discussion point for another day, but there are some dogs in this race, Patch, that quite frankly don't belong on a Thursday night card at Sandown, let alone in Sandown Cup heats. And as I said, that's probably a discussion for another day, but they're not likely to get in his way here. He's likely to be on the bunny, and I agree with you. I think the $1.30 will evaporate pretty quickly. I can see the big boys really stepping in. I think every multi in Australia will have him, and he's more like a $1.15, $1.18 chance. I think Pilbara's almost just as good a thing to run second. Barefoot Tycoon's interesting now. He's a dog who's got some brilliant, brilliant times to his names in WA, but again, with him, he's a little bit of a head case. Look, I've got Tyler Durden there for 4th, but that's pretty much by default.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of multis around the country that will be anchoring ZACK MONELLI, and I guess with ones of that sort of price that fit a similar profile of being the anchor in those multis, sometimes there's if, buts and maybes, whether it's a sprint race or a like. Over 700, you just cannot find a reason that he could be beaten tomorrow night. So clearly the on-top selection, I went number 3 for second, Barefoot Tycoon, and you're not wrong about him, Wiz. He's a different sort of dog. He's had 2 trials in his past 2 outings at the racetrack. One of them was getting set for the heats tonight, and he just totally lost and ended up having to complete a satisfactory trial on Sunday night where he went about 30 seconds flat coming from midfield and didn't strike me as if he was going to turn it on. So I've got doubts about him, but as you say, with these types, there's a lot of X factor at the same time. He's got a lot of ability. He's going to turn up with it. That's the question. Third, number 7, Pilbara, and fourth, number 4, Tyler Durden, who we've touched on. But ZACK MONELLI, anchor in the multi, he looks unbelievably hard to beat.
Yeah, I think he'll be going in most, as we just touched on. Now, the first leg of the quad, he'll be heat 3 of the Sandown Cup, and this is one of the more open heats on the card. A lot of interest, I guess, centring around Not Happening, stepping up to 700 for the first time, and Prim Proper now making her Victorian debut. And they head the market. He's been $6 into $4 Not Happening. Prim Proper's been the other way. She's $3.70 out to her quote. So Truculent's steady. Let's See's got out a point. Maggie Moo Moo's steady, and Blazing Cartier's got out ever so slightly. But a lot of depth to this particular heat patch. We're going to have a look at Not Happening winning a 500 back on May 9. He has box 2 in the replay we're about to watch, where he beats Jarvie. He settles on speed here, and look, I guess it's going to come down to whether or not he's conditioned enough to win the 700 here first go. He's coming off the back of 2 500s into a 595. He did have a string of 600s before that patch, but then about 3 weeks in between his next run till he went around to 500 at the Meadows. Inside draws a plus for him. It is a reservation, isn't it, him at the trip here?
Yeah, it is. And again, as we spoken about on Tyler Durden earlier on, you never quite know until you see him do it. But for me, I'm quite comfortable to get to 700. I'm sort of a bit surprised that we haven't seen him over it recently. And he has won well over 500. But when he's raced over 600, and especially in the Meadows, he's set some fast time. And when he's hit the line, he's got stayer written all over him. So in my heart of hearts, I think we'll get to 700.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point you make. I mean, the comparison between he and Tyler Durden, he hits the line a lot harder. His run home times have been a lot better than what Tyler's have been there at the Meadow. So I certainly take your point there. Second run replay we're going to have a look at. This is Prim and Proper, running third in the Gold Cup. I thought this was an outstanding performance here. Look, she leads the eventual winner pretty comfortably early. Surprised that she was able to let her get up on her inside, but what I really liked about Prim and Proper's performance on this occasion was what she does pretty much from here onwards, Patch. I thought she was almost entitled to give it away, given that she's a bunny dog, there's no doubt about it. And she, again, much like one of the dogs we spoke about earlier, she's a speed stayer, not a stamina stayer. But I thought she really stuck to her task very well here. And on my map, I've got her nearly skating straight to the front here.
She's a big chance too. There's not many races she goes around in and isn't able to find the front. And you're right, for one like her who just about week in, week out finds the top, when she's challenged like that mid-race, you'd be fully understanding if she was to drop back and say that's enough for me, but she fought on. So a great sign, and look, she'll be showing pace from the outside here.
Yeah, especially having Let's See and Maggie Moo Moo directly to her left. They're certainly not going to worry her early. Look, I've gone 8, 4, 1 and 7. I'm going to give her a chance here, Prim and Proper. Look, as a rule, I'm reluctant to tip interstate dogs first up in Victoria. A, such as the depth in Victoria, but B, I think, it generally takes a few runs to become really well acquainted to those tracks down there. But I think she'll be hard to beat, especially if she can find the bunny. I think Sir Truculent could well be the forgotten dog in this race. The market certainly is keen on him. He hasn't moved from his opening quote. He's $5.50 and still steady at that price, but just get the feeling that he may well get out on the night. It's been a little bit out of mind, out of sight with him. I've got Not Happening there to run third. It is always a question mark until you see him over 700, but I certainly accept your point that the way he finishes off over 600 does give you the indication that he has a future over this trip. And I've left Maggie Moo Moo there for fourth. Look, her and Let's See are very similar types. You could toss that number around, but I've got the 8 on top.
Yeah, I like the chances of Not Happening, number one. And look, we speak about what he's done over 600 metres. It wasn't that long ago where he come from midfield and put a reasonable field away at the Meadows and ran a time of 34.10 over the 600 metres, which is really good. And again, it's just the way that he hit the line gives me confidence that he's going to be right first up over 700 metres. So with him from number 7, Maggie Moo Moo. And look, she's been good over the past couple of weeks. She just finds herself in a position where she gets that midfield spot in it and always working hard after that. So if she finds a better one in front, then she's going to be challenged. But she clearly has been good over the past 2 weeks. Third, number 2, Blazing Cartier. And look, I was bullish on her last week. she was okay, and even before that in her speed star trials, she was just okay. So it's probably safe to say that the best is past her, but she's won in this field, is a genuine stayer, genuine form over 700 metres, and has the class, and fourth, number 8, prim and proper. For all the reasons that you put forward, Wish, she should be on the speed early on, but not happening number 1 for me.
The last of the Sandown Cup heats comes up as race number 7. Again, one of the more competitive races, I think. Although the market wouldn't necessarily tell you that. We're the People's at $2.50, having opened the same price. Here's $3.90, same price, and Kenny the Brute's been $3.60 out to $4.20. Just a comment on this market patch. Geez, I think Kenny the Brute, he fits the same bill as some of the other greyhounds that we've spoken about. I would have massive doubts about him running 700. I think he will get out in the market.
He comes in pretty fresh too. He fell on his last start, but look, he didn't come out of that fall with any injury. He's just been given a spell. So, look, it'd be wrong of me to doubt a kennel like the Greenos, but as you say, on exposed form on paper, he's first up over 700 metres. And again, like so many that we'll see race tomorrow night, there's questions how well they'll run out the trip.
First go a couple of weeks ago, first look at the track a couple of weeks ago, We Are The People put up a really good performance to score. She has box number 8 in the replay we're watching. Look, first thing I'd tick off here, key that she's been able to win one here in a full field. She went round in the Hank the Hustler race last start. She certainly presented at the right time. Possibly just died on her run a little bit late, which was surprising their last start. Just thought the query for her here, Patch, could be the low draw. There's a bit of traffic to her outside. We know that she's going to settle with not many in front of her. And just at $2.50, it seems a little skinny for me.
It does. I think for anyone like her that gets well back in the field and storms home, we're happy to cop it for the real stars like your Stanley Rhodes and even Houdini Boy when he was at the peak of his powers. But for her, she's been good in her past couple. And speaking to her current trainer in Jamie Ennis after that win, he in his belief, he thinks that the more runs she's going to have week to week over 700 metres, the better she's going to get. But you raise a good point there. She does look to have that tendency to hook around fields and get to the outside. So from box 3, she's probably going to find some drama really, but as we know, she can come home really well.
Here's a dog who has been off the winners list for quite some time. His last win was back in January, Patch, but he put up a really good performance in the Association Cup final when he ran, in a heat of the Association Cup behind Stanley Road. He finished down the track in the final. He gets on the pace here and just gets in a little buffeting duel with one of the other pace setters. 42.26 in the end, the return. I think the key part for him is the trial the other day, 41.79. You'd have seen it, so you can take over from here.
Yeah, and he did everything that you'd expect him to do. He's clearly not the kind of operator that he was 12 months ago, but I think coming into a series like this, as you touched on earlier on, there's a lot of greyhounds 600 metre type stepping up for the sake of stepping up for the Sandown Cup, where you've got one like Here's Tears who is a genuine week in, week out sort of stayer, and he's just got that class. We know he's a group race performer, he's performed well at the track, so I get the feeling that those sort of qualities are going to stand up in this sort of series.
I think, I've got him on top, and I think the point you just made is the most pertinent one for me, is that Sandown is his happy hunting ground. And it's been a long time since he's been back to 700 at Sandown. He's been racing over the 700, but primarily at the Meadows, at Wenny, at Albion Park, various other tracks around the country. Gets back to a track that he really loves. I think the trial's an indication that he's still going pretty well. Whether it's the same level as where he once was, I guess is absolutely debatable. But look, I was happy enough to have him on top just because I had question marks about the favourites here. I've actually thrown Techie Nibbles in for second. She can have a little bit of a mind of her own, but if she's in a going mood, she represents some value at a price. I've got We The People there third. She's an absolute winning chance, but I just don't like $2.50 about her. And I've left Star Blazer there for fourth. I've completely left Kenny the Brute out, who I just don't think gets 700.
Yeah, I'm with Here's Tears as well. And you go through the form line of ones like his, and just about every start they have, it is more difficult than what they find themselves up against in the Sandown Cup heat. So I'm hoping that he can get that clear room. And as you say, that trial is probably going to be good enough to have him in a really good position tomorrow night. So I went with him from number 3, We The People. And again, we spoke about her. She's just going to try drift to the outside. She'll be back in the field, and she's going to warm up as long as the race goes on. Third, I went number 7, Aston Ulesi. And look, since he stepped up the 700 metres, I don't think we've seen that same devastation that he had over 600 metres. Whether that's a thing that could come in time, but I think on what we've got in front of us so far, we can say that he doesn't have that same weaponry that he showed for a number of starts over 600 metres. And a fourth, I went number 1, Kenny the Brute. So heat 4 of the Sandown Cup. Wiz, I agree with you with number 4, Here's Tears.
All right, so on that note, we'll take a quick break, and to take us to the break, here's the Tasmanian champ, Chinatown Lad, winning the 2008 Sandown Cup.
Racing, and Chinatown Lad sprung out of the 2. Favourite straight through to lead. Bye Bye Bones, and Fallen Zorro goes to 3rd initially. Followed by Fancy Penny, Rebel Angel, Gonna Do Magic, Kulu Spirit, and Texarkali Rose last with a round to go. It's Chinatown Lad highballing, turning out of the straight. Leads by 2 to Bye Bye Bones, and Fallen Zorro's gone to 3rd now. Followed by Fancy Penny, Rebel Angel, Gonna Do Magic, Kulu Spirit, and Texarkali Rose is the trailer. It's Chinatown Lad. The Sandown Cup may be at his mercy. He's 4 lengths in front. Bye Bye Bones and Fallen Zorro look the only dangers. Chinatown Lad though up to the turn in the Sandown Cup with a race winning break. Fallen Zorro down the centre, but Chinatown Lad all the way is a brilliant winner.